Hey everyone, and welcome to my Diablo Immortal video. This is going to be my closing thoughts on the game now that I have started the Paragon grind, and quite honestly the end game has opened up. For those of you who have watched the two first videos, you might know that I have some very strong and overall fairly positive impressions of this game. It is a closed beta, so nothing for sure is final, and honestly whatever I do now is pointless in a month when they wipe the servers. So let's answer a couple commonly asked questions that I've found. People have asked, what is the fastest way to level? And quite honestly, it is just completing your story, codex, contracts, bounty board, running rifts. That kind of sounds generic and a play the game kind of general answer, but what you should be focusing on is completing your battle pass. Every time you complete a task on your battle pass, you earn points towards leveling up your battle pass. And as you can see, if you look at the actual EXP portion of hitting your battle pass, it is usually at least like 70% of a level, so always aim to accomplish this first. People wondering about the drop rate for legendaries and set pieces. The drop rates are kind of shit. You definitely shouldn't expect Diablo 3 levels of loot flow from what I feel like is the only point of progression in this game. People are going to ask, is this game soloable? Well, I can tell you as an always online multiplayer game, probably not. The big however on this is things like raids. You need 8 people, vault of loot or whatever, you need 4 people. To get set pieces, you need to do a dungeon with at least one other person. On that point, you kind of just have to make a friend, join a clan, join a shadow house, or I don't know, play with 2 phones, figure it out. People asking about the difficulty of this game. I felt this game was quite easy as long as you weren't getting into situations where you were doing level gated mechanics such as the challenge rift or ring of blood, for example. When you are fighting monsters that are above your level, there is a damage gating mechanic which just makes it impossible to do unless you are a master of mobility and kiting. People asking what classes I got to play. I started out playing Monk, which I hated, and I switched to Demon Hunter, which I found a little bit enjoyable, but I felt that the skill damage was kind of shit. And then I decided to make a video in which I switched to Crusader, and I got to about level 31, and I found that I was having quite an easy time both leveling as Crusader and just getting decent rift times. For example, I felt leveling as a Crusader was a breeze, and just pushing all content was almost too easy for a Crusader. Please don't nerf me. The game does feel big and expansive, so there isn't too much about rerunning the same content over and over again. The stuff that you were doing in D3, you'll still be doing in Diablo Mobile 3. If you guys do have any other questions, feel free to just throw a comment down in the bottom and I'll try to answer it the best that I can. So even before we touch on the content of the game, there is something that I want to vent about. It is very intangible in my feelings, but I feel that it is so relevant having now played this game on 3 separate phones. Why didn't Blizzard make a fucking PC client for the game so we don't have to try and emulate or MacGyver this shit so that it is a fun and playable experience? For those of you wondering why I bitch and complain about mobile games not having a PC client, I want to point out my perspective. I understand that Blizzard wants to continue to tap into the mobile market that gave it its unequaled matching fortunes from its trading card game Hearthstone for what, half a decade? But even that game had a PC client, so again, why? What I hope I am just complaining about is an unannounced like console port or PC port or something. Because listen, Blizzard, it's not fucking 2016 anymore, and people aren't playing games just a poop at a time. You are trying to run an ARPG at over 60 frames per second on what everyone is going to be trying to do on max settings, and that's going to give you a solid 2 to 3 hours of gameplay before you have to kill your phone or leave it in on life support plugged in. Add on to the fact that I physically want to have an Xbox controller connected via Bluetooth so I don't have to smudge or cover half my fucking screen with my hands or prop it up like some sort of fucking MacGyver on my computer desktop with a stand like a fucking chimp and plugged into my warp charger while my phone's GPU is overheating the shit and keeping my office warm. I eventually installed it on my older phone so that I could kill my older phone's battery and keep the only thing that my life depends on from going dead. For the love of God, just let me play on my fucking computer with a controller or do a console port, just not this. Why are you doing this? So now you know my true feelings and how I still managed to get to Paragon on my phone. Let's talk about the actual game, because I said it before and I'll say it again. Welcome to Diablo 3 Mobile. I don't know why they didn't just call it Diablo 3 Mobile. I almost guarantee they probably just took the asset artists from Reaper of Souls, pulled them away, and just made them do Diablo 3 Mobile, because that game did not get any substantial content whatsoever. Realistically, despite not having a witch doctor for some reason, all the familiar faces are back. You can choose from Mr. Spinny, Mr. Shooty, the Wizrad, the Poverty, the Necro, and of course my overall favorite, the Fun Satyr, but you can only have 5 characters for some reason, so someone's not going to make the cut. Or you're just going to have 5 Crusaders. Each character functions like its own separate entity. It's kind of weird. They have their own separate codex, separate battle pass. The only exception that I've found being specific items like Crests are only able to be redeemed by 1 character. This also includes paid battle pass rewards, so pay attention to them before you redeem. All the characters have a wide variety of skills, but unlike Diablo 3 where they give you the rune system, that has been replaced by just flavor text legendaries. These legendaries will almost always alter your skill in the most favorable way. You are limited to 4 skills at a time and 1 normal attack skill. Early on, it's kind of frustrating being handed 14 skills, and then once you start using them, realizing you're never going to use more than just 4 or 5 of them. But there are a few ways to mitigate this problem, and I'll kind of explain that more when we get to vendors. Speaking of Battle Pass rewards, NetEase is definitely not a fresh face when it comes to mobile games, and so it has structured its Battle Passes rightfully so for a company that needs to make money on a mobile game, and as always, the free tier is kind of depressing. Like, this shit has 2 legendary gems, granted 2 different legendary gems, 1 legendary crest, 1 random legendary weapon, 1 item reforged stone, 10 rare crests, and then a handful of hilts, gems, and just overall shitty mats. The premium pass, on the other hand, has everything that is normally filtered or gated or slowly handed out to free players. Things that are normally given out in moderation. Things like Scoria. There's like 6 legendary gems. For some reason, 3 of them are repeated. You know, you get thrice the amount of crests, some colorful emotes, and then of course some gems and crap to balance it all out. It's not a terrible value based on other games that I've played, and if you're really intent on buying the Battle Pass, I would probably wait until the end of the month when you know you are hitting all 40 ranks, as quite honestly, the ranks that don't end in a 5 or a 0 or are just like those oddly placed crests are kind of disappointing. What you won't find handed out in battle passes are platinum and eternal orbs, the former being a peasant's currency that you can earn without swiping in this game, and of course the latter being the master currency of unlocking everything in the game. The only thing I think the eternal orbs can't override are things like daily and weekly limits for raid, resets, store items, or, you know, my faith in humanity as to why anyone would buy regular gems off the auction house using platinum. So let's talk about the main town's vendors. Starting with the essence transfer vendor, who I will call going forward the Horodric Vendorsmith. This great man will break down a copy of a legendary that you find in the wild, and then allow you to convert another legendary's bonus and skin, to be honest, into that legendary. You only have to break it down once, thank God, because this game rations out the legendaries that you get as if it was the only thing that you have to do in this game, which is true. I'm addressing this vendor first in hopes that you watch this video early enough that you don't shard your low-level legendaries like the Neanderthal I was. It's a surprisingly forgiving system, And honestly, it wasn't much of a cash grab. To be clear, having played a shit ton of mobile games, I was not expecting this not to be a cash grab. This was kind of a weird good guy move by the developer, and I can confirm either the developers or Blizzard vetoing means that they're not completely heartless. The next person on our list is obviously Charsi, the blacksmith, where you smash your garbage into pieces of garbage which take up no space in your inventory. You will then sink your gray, blue, yellow, and beyond materials into upgrading your gear. You can then transfer said ranks to another piece of gear when you find an item with 2 more base stats that you don't have, or the legendary skill chains that you actually want to play with. The final option, of course, being Charsi refining your scoria into Hellfire Scoria, which you can use to improve your Heliquary. Yeah. Jewelry vendor is another kind of logical vendor. You can upgrade your gems through kind of exponential cost increase for the number of base gems that you need to use. It lets you shard all those stupid fucking Unity gems that you'll probably end up getting into useful gem fragments that you can then upgrade useful legendary gems. Gems that you actually find on the ground, you're able to put on the market, but the battle pass ones you're not allowed to because some odd restriction. The charm vendor is another RNG sink into this game. Charms, they're a neat concept, but they're kind of fucking weird in this game. Charms are items that give you a small boost to your skill damage. This vendor is where you will smash your face against your phone, because when you go to upgrade a charm that you have, it will go and do something stupid, like, say for example, adding a fucking barbarian skill to your crusader charm. Then, going to the next tab, you realize that you need to mash another 3 skills into this charm for a total of 5 completely fucking random skills, or if you can roll the dice and see if you can transfer one of those stats onto another charm. If it seems convoluted and I feel frustrated talking about it, it's because it is, and I am. I felt a slap in the face wasting mats trying to enhance it once, but if you look on the market, you can see some people listing their charms. Maybe that might be a better chance at getting the stat that you want. So I've mentioned it a couple times, but there is an auction house, a market, everything is paid in plats. While I don't think this is a terrible idea, there are going to be so many stupid listings when this game starts of people just trying to sell like basic gem garbage, and who knows, maybe there's going to be people spending money on this game who are willing to just throw random plats at everything that's on the market. The charm section is definitely going to get confusing as hell, because I think there needs to be a better system for sorting which ones that you can find rather than just looking for the icon. But honestly, it might just be the best chance you have at buying the charm that you actually want in the game. The reason we have to talk about the market is I didn't see an option to trade in this game. So on that front, best of luck. Next to the auction house is the shitty gambling vendor to pull all the extra gold out of the economy. And boy, does it ever pull my extra gold out of the economy. At 15,000 gold a roll, you will have 50 mostly yellow items in your inventory in no time. I say 50 rolls because after 10 rolls per category, it jumps up per roll. And for some fucking reason, in case you didn't already feel like you were wasting your money, they want to pull more gold out of it. So honestly, fuck this guy. If you're loaded up, go crazy just trying to get maybe one random legendary piece. But remember, all crafting vendors except the Herodric Vendorsmith need gold for crafts. To date, I've spent about 350,000 gold, and I have not gotten anything better than a yellow. So obviously, aside from the auction house, those are the vendors that deal more with the gold side of crafting. So let's talk more about the currency vendors. To be straightforward, let's just get the simple vendor out of the way. There is a Crest vendor who accepts either eternal orbs or a limited number of platinum items for sale. It's weird. Crests are a very tough sell for me. I don't call it a pay-to-win mechanic for the buff simply for the fact that I don't know if there's really ever going to be a struggle with Elder Rifts. They're kind of Babby's first adventure for loot, and you could probably AFK through the first half and still complete them with ease. I imagine they are designed to be a magic find boost, but I don't have any evidence that they affect MF in any way. So for now, I'm just going to say that they affect runes and embers. And it is literally for this reason that I call it a shit item. The other vendor that just seems to sell one item is the Crystal Vendor. They sell Crystal Echoes, which are used to upgrade gems past level 5, but you buy them using plats. So, I don't know, hard to sell. A free-to-play player's favorite vendor is going to be the Hilts Vendor, located in a isolated corner of the map to ensure that you are feeling the psychological punishment for not spending money in this game. The Hilts Vendor offers a daily, weekly, and monthly plethora of items depending on their kind of rarity and the gating of the game. They do give you a fair number of hilts during the beta, so I do have a pretty good stock hold, but I do worry about the future rates and the sources of acquiring hilts. The next vendor in town is the Embers Trader, who accepts the embers that you get through legendary and rare crests on rifts, and they let you buy runes you want without the RNG. The prices, to be quite honest, are really steep, and you need to obtain a lot more than what free-to-play can realistically provide you in a short term. They do you the favor of writing out exactly how many you need of each rune, so I guess at least you can budget for it. The vendor who stands next to Charsi allows you to purchase reforging stones, which allows you kind of like a specialty bonus on the items that you are imbuing. I don't know why this tab exists. You can also just buy them directly from the store, and these cost eternal orbs, so they are completely fucking useless to anyone who isn't willing to swipe. So I ran through it pretty quick, but hopefully this gives you a better idea of what you can only spend eternal orbs on, and the kind of things that you can afford with a mix of both hilts and plats. There is definitely a lot of gating in this game, which kind of is what strikes the odd balance between pay to win, free to play, or maybe kind of like a minimum pay to play, depending on your playstyle and time commitment. The pay to win aspect is definitely how fast you can get legendary gems to rank 5. Realistically, the more MF that you get, and it'll definitely make getting sets and legendaries much easier. So to kind of give some supporting information to this statement, my goal for playing for this week was to make sure that I wasn't paying a single cent in this game. You know, especially when you start looking at things like the great value bundles. I kind of wanted to set a minimum bar for this game for what you can obtain without having to pay, and also kind of pretend like I can be a responsible adult playing a mobile game. You know, yes, I can afford to pay for the bundles. Yes, I do see some value in what you can buy, and yes, I've wasted probably quite a bit of my time here and there leveling other characters, or just experimenting on things, or even just waiting around being able to experience content. Hell, I wasted an entire day editing this video. And yes, this video might not be able to relate to whales or the experience that maybe Twitch gamers might have who can spend their entire day playing this game, who can drop money because this is technically their job and go pay to win. You know, there's a lot of people on the Canadian server who are already Paragon 25 in one fucking week of this game being open. And these are also the people who are going hard and are just going to experience a wipe at the end of the month. Blizzard has said they're going to honor all of the bundle purchases, so I imagine what you see in the store is probably going to be set in stone, but these are more my reasonable expectations. This is not a grandeur experience, you know, no one is paying me to do this. I mean, I have 90 amazing subscribers, and I need to adult quite often, so I think the importance of this video is that we are both on the same page about what you can accomplish. And to be honest, I don't feel that there is an immediate rush. You don't need to pay to win in this game. At any point, and you can see it in the video, I could just throw on any skill I wanted and still finish a rift. You can do dungeons because dungeons never really feel like a challenge when you're doing them at the appropriate level. And the only time I ever died to content was either A, I wasn't paying attention, B, I was attacking content that was above my level. And this is kind of one of the issues that I want to talk about this game, is damage. On a monster side, if you are attacking a monster that is above your level, they have this weird damage mitigating mechanic that if you're attacking something above your level, it'll take like a fraction of the damage that it's supposed to do. I don't know whether it comes down to offense rating or defense rating, but it kind of sucks, but is relevant and necessary. But sometimes it just comes on too quick in this game. It feels like for whatever 30 levels of challenge rifts, the difference between 10 and 11 is like 10 Paragon levels. I guess since we're on the topic of damage, it's another hot point that I'd like to address. It feels like you are given whatever, like 14 skills in the game, and there's just so many I would never actually touch. Your auto attack either does too much damage or your skills do not do enough that I feel it is a damage loss if you pick up any skill that interrupts your auto attack or isn't used for like pure mobility. So a lot of what I did with many classes, I gravitated towards skills like ground AoEs and damage over time skills, often just trying to find the skills with the lowest cooldown so that I could keep my time to kill at a minimum. With what I have experienced, I'd probably play the rest of the game with 4 skills because everything else just feels like it plain sucks without seeing what legendary item skills can offer. With what I have experienced, I'd probably play the rest of the game with 4 skills because everything else just plain sucks. This is without seeing every other legendary alternative skill, but still, it just doesn't feel right. Here's another thing that sucks. Your ultimate. I feel like I am being punished every time I use one. The damage is just so underwhelming. They're either too short or they take fucking forever to charge up, and it comes to a point where you just have to ignore it because it either provides you with a buff that you can use once the ultimate wears off, or it's just kind of like a, oh, well, I guess this is almost better than just auto attack. The last thing that I want to talk about, and then I'm going to move on from skills, is the destructible objects. You know, it pays off to have the Demon Hunter's sentries up because they do a ton of damage. It might be a little bit, but it pierces and it goes in such a frequency that it's really useful. But they die. They die in like 3 hits. Like the Crusader's banner is a great buff, or if you have the legendary alternate, it deals an incredible amount of damage, but it dies in 2 hits. It dies in 1 hit if you're fighting a rift boss, and I absolutely refuse to sit through a skill with a 24-second cooldown if it doesn't last more than like 2 to 3 seconds. And the tough part about this, especially talking about the skills that you want to use, is we, especially myself, won't know all the skills and builds that you should be using until you get all of the legendary versions. It's really hard to know what the sweet spot is for each class, and with the amount of time I have, I just can't show that. So the last thing I kind of want to talk about is where the game has opened up into endgame activities and what I've been doing for a daily cycle. If you want to avoid all of the mechanics, realistically, you could follow the D3 lifestyle. There are normal bounty boards and contracts where you'll go into a forest and kill 60 mobs, or escort a pirate named Steve somewhere and kill 6 mobs in 1 purple, and you'll get experience and coins from that. You can do random event quests anywhere on the map. You can find hidden dungeons that spawn at weird points and just let you go through and get treasure and gold out of that. Realistically, whatever you want to do in this game is done at the difficulty of your choice. I had just gotten into Paragon, and that had unlocked Hell 1. But once you get out of the generic cycle, after that is the reason why they called this Diablo Immortal and not Diablo Gotcha Phone Bitches, the Shadow versus Immortal system. So in this game, you have an opportunity at level 43-ish to join a shadow lottery. You have no idea what it's about or what it means, but I mean, it's a lottery. You'll join up. and all you realize is that this is your initiation into being accepted into whatever, a house of shadows. They introduce you to kind of every aspect of the shadow system, i.e. your activity grind, and it turns out that there's a lot more to do than just running around and killing rare mobs or running rifts over and over. But some of the aspects are just kind of lame. Like the Ring of Blood just kind of being a challenge rift, and your only goal is to not take damage because you essentially can't heal, and then they force you to take on a boss or a pack of mobs or something. Same kind of level gating mechanics apply, so I imagine the first 3 will be super pants on head retarded, and then after that you'll just die to one mob because it has an angry triangle. What I keep just calling the Vault of Loot is a dungeon that lets you go in and collect hilts and gold. It requires you to kill a boss at the end in order to escape. It really wasn't too challenging. The only difficulty is kind of based on your allies, making sure that you're killing the alarm guard that tries to alert the warden. You have just a short period of time to kill the mob, otherwise I believe it increases the mob density and just how long it takes to complete the run. I haven't done the PvP side of the game yet because it is Saturday as of recording, and it's only open on Sundays for some reason, though I do have footage of a practice Immortal vs. Shadows run that feels like I'm fighting just NPC bots and I won with ease. One aspect of the game that I've really wanted to do but haven't been able to, not because I didn't want to, or the fact that the gaming community is a bunch of elitist jerks gating content from everyone. No, I have not been able to get a group to start the fucking raid because A, they need to be in the same area at the same time, B, not have some stupid fuck shit that you can't kick and preventing the raid from starting, or the top of the listing will have some dead groups that will have 3 disconnected players in its lobby and they will never get started because no one wants to join a raid with one person. It is a level of infuriation that I don't need when trying to play a game, and they really need to fix this matchmaking. There are some other items like leaderboards and extra menu items that I've just kind of omitted because they didn't really stand out to me. As well, I can't really tell you what the optimal endgame looks like because, to be honest, I just don't know. It's only been a week. What I can tell you is I don't think Diablo Immortal is bad, and I don't think Blizzard fucked up. So that's it. Rant over. I can honestly say that I really like the polish of Diablo Immortal on a new phone. Like I said, like I use a OnePlus 8T. I have a 120Hz screen. I'm able to do the high FPS mode and the whatever detailed texture, whatever anti-aliasing. So it's been a fun experience. I enjoy playing the game. Most of my friends who play computer games, especially people who enjoyed playing Diablo, don't even want to touch this game, probably because there's a lot of just anger and disappointment that precedes it, but also for the fact that it's a fucking phone game and it should have a client, like a PC client, and honestly that's probably going to be the hardest sell. I don't know anybody who plays Hearthstone and refused to play Hearthstone on anything except an iPad or an Android phone. I think Blizzard just needs to get their shit in order. But that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. There probably aren't going to be any more videos for Diablo Immortal because this shit takes time and I just want to play. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.